Hey people, I'm Ole Børud, and this is the fourth video in the mini-series on patchmaking with the BOSS GT1000CORE. Now we have looked at fuzz, we have looked at texture pop, and even metal. So now I thought it was time to look at some more acoustic-driven sounds. As usual, you can hear all the patches in the intro tune and hear how they sound in the context of a song. Okay, so let's walk through the patches. Alright, so welcome back to another round of tone shaping inside of the BOSS Tone Studio. The first patch is going to be the patch that I made for my acoustic guitar. This time I'm using the transparent amp. So as you can see inside of this one right here, this is set up for transparent. It's not giving you that typical cabinet thing at the end, but rather more full range type. So this is set up with quite a bit of gain, 75 and then 80 on level, 60 on bass, 36 middle and 57 treble. I shall mention that this guitar is set up with LR Bag's Anthem, which is really nice, but one of the things about that system is that there's not a lot of output, so it's really nice to be able to boost the output of the guitar. Okay, so this is moving into the next block, which is an EQ block. I've got a couple of EQ blocks here. So inside of this one, I have boosted the low gain a bit, and then low mid frequency is set to 125 Hertz, and the mid Q is 4, minus 12 dB on that one. To get rid of rumbly stuff. It's a typical thing with some acoustic guitars. And then moving on to the high mid frequencies set up to 2K, and the mid Q is quite narrow, it's 16. And then I've taken away 6 dB on that one. And then I added some top end, high gain, 3 dB plus on that one. And then moving on to the next EQ block. On this one, I have basically just taken away a little bit around 400 Hertz. Quite a narrow thing there as well. 4 minus dB on that one. This is going into a tiny bit of noise suppression. If I take it away, you can hear more noise. This basically has to do with the fact that I'm using the LR Bag system, and that system has a combination of piezo and a microphone that you put inside of the guitar. Now I'm using this microphone all the way, so I'm not using the piezo thing, but that will give me a little bit of noise, but I think it's worth it. Yeah. Okay, so this is moving then to the next block, which is the master delay. Master delay is set up for bin drum echo, quarter notes, feedback is 44, high cut is at 4 kilohertz, the effect level 40, no modulation on this one. However, I do have some wow and flutter, which will give kind of like the same feel as modulation, but a bit more uneven, which is kind of cool sometimes. All right, and then I have a bit of ducking, which is really nice because that allows what you play to come through, and then the tail with a delay comes afterwards. Then it's going into the reverb, and this is set up for hall 2, quite a long hall, 6.0 seconds time. A little bit of tone, a little bit of density there, 6 on density, quite a lot of effect level. I'm low cutting a little bit and I'm high cutting a little bit, 200 Hertz and 4 kilohertz. And then, yeah, just a tiny bit of actually boosting on the damp, both low and high. And then I have a bit of modulation on this one, and also a tiny bit of ducking. So It's a nice tail. Okay, lastly, speaker cabinet simulator. I've got it set for off. Now I could set it for original and I'd still have that full range sound, but I thought it was, might as well just turn it off because this is an acoustic guitar. So that's it. Moving on to the next patch. The next patch is called Synth-like, and well, obviously I'm trying to replicate some sort of synth pad with this one. Okay, so the first block is the slow gear, and it basically produces some sort of swell to the attack. And then we are moving over to the next block, which is an effects block as well, and I'm using the D fretter, and this basically just does something to the tone that I like. If I turn it off, it'll sound like this, which kind of sounds more like a typical electric guitar sound. But if I put it on, it sort of makes the sound smoother, which is good for this patch, I think. The next block is a compressor. I figured it'd be nice to have the sound sustain a bit. So yeah, it's set up for BOSS compressor. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. Moving on to the first divider. And this time I'm using the natural amp. This is set up for 72 in gain, -1 on sag, +2 resonance, level 40, bass 44, middle 45, treble 73, and the bright switch is on. This is moving into a equalizer, and in this one I'm basically just rolling off a little bit of low mid here, 5 dB minus, a pretty wide mid Q on that one, and the frequency is 160 Hertz. And then I'm actually adding something at 2.50 kilohertz, and that's like the broadest mid Q you can have there, and I'm adding 5+ on that one actually. Moving on to the next divider. This is set up for dual, meaning my sound is gonna go straight here, just clean, and up here it's going to be affected by these blocks. Now this first block is the overtone, which is, well, it's an overtone. And if I do like this, you can hear something going on at the top there. If I take it off, you can still hear something going on at the top, but that's the delay, and I'll bypass that one right now, and you can hear that with these two bypassed. And now if I go back to this one, the effects block 3, and put it back in, you can hear that tiny top octave there. And on the same path there, I've got an EQ, and this EQ is rolling out some low mid frequency at 500 Hertz. It's a very narrow mid Q, yeah. And then I'm actually rolling off quite a bit of the 125 kilohertz as well on this one. If I bypass this one, it's going to sound way more like nasal. I just wanted to try to smooth up that sound a bit. Okay, next block is a chorus block. It's stereo, and if I bypass it, it's going to be like this. chorus. So this last EQ block, I'm basically just taking away a little bit at 315 hertz, quite a broad mid-Q on that one. Not a lot taken away, -2 dB. And then at 800, I'm also taking away a bit more, -7. Then we are moving to the delay, which is now bypassed. I'll go ahead and put that back in, and you can hear some shimmer going on. And then we have the reverb, which is a plate. If I bypass that one, it's going to be like this. You can definitely hear that shimmer. It's actually mono in the middle, and it has a ducking, so it comes. Yeah. And that put together with the reverb works quite fine. The next patch is called Swell Tone, and it starts off with slow gear once again, making the tone swell. The next block is also an effects block, and I'm once again using the overtone, using mainly the upper level. You can have both lower level and upper level, and I'm using the upper level only on this one. This is moving into the first divider, and I've got it set up for a Senta OD, which is a clone type overdrive. 30 on drive, and it's just pretty much straight afterwards. This is moving into an amp called X-Modded, which has 45 on gain, 5+ on sag, 5+ on resonance. Level is up to 85, bass taken down to 35, middle 43, and treble 21. So the next thing happening is actually at divider 3. Now on divider 3, I've got it set up with that dual path, which means I'll be able to have parallel things going on. And so I'm once again using that trick for reverb and delay. The delay is set for dual with tape, and it's dotted eighths on one side and then quarter notes on the other one. High cut is down to 160 and effect level 40. No modulation. Yeah, and it's set for the BPM of the song. And then I have the shimmer reverb on this one, set to 4.4 seconds. The effect level is 90, so quite a bit on that one. And then at the main speaker simulator, I've got the original, condenser 87 for a microphone, and the distance is short. Position is 3 centimeters. And on this patch, I'm trying to play this right here, and it sounds like this. The next patch is trying to simulate a acoustic guitar sound on an electric guitar. So the first thing happening here is effects block 1, which is set up with AC guitar sim. Now it's going to give you this type of sound. it's simulating an acoustic guitar. Even though it doesn't sound exactly like an acoustic guitar, it has its own sound, which is quite cool actually. So I wanted to showcase that sound in this song. This is moving into the transparent amplifier, which is really nice for that type of sound. Yeah, set up for 70 in gain, a little bit of sag, a lot of resonance. Level is quite high, 50 bass, 50 middle. Treble is a little bit more up. Then we are moving into an EQ, which has a little bit taken away at 200 Hertz and a little bit added at 160K, and actually taken away a little bit at high gain. And this is going into a bin drum echo at the master delay block. Set to quarter notes and pretty straightforward here. The high cut is at 630. Effect level is 40, so it's quite audible. I've got a bit of ducking, and the wow and flutter is quite important because that will give some sort of modulation type of feel to the delay, which is nice. Moving into the reverb block, which is set up for Hall 2, mind you. 6.0 seconds time, tone +8, density 8, so quite a bit of density on that one. Effect level is quite high. Got a bit of pre-delay on this one. I'm low cutting at 200 Hertz, high cutting at 3.15 kilohertz, and yeah, low damp, high damp. Not a lot there. Got a bit of modulation going on here and a bit of ducking. And this is going into the original cabinet simulator with the CND 451 microphone. And distance is short, position is 3 centimeters. And so let's see. I find that this sounds best if I don't play on the high E string, which is kind of, that's a little thin, but if I do the same here, sounds better. The last patch is the bass patch. The first block is the amp block. It's set up for natural bass, and it sounds nice. It's got 61 in gain, 5+ in sag, 50 level, 45 bass, 22 middle, 30 treble, and bright switch is off. This is moving into the compressor block, and this has the X-Bass comp set up. Now this compressor adds tone, but it sounds good. So if I take it away, it's going to sound like this. And putting it back in. Sounds good. The next block is the noise suppressor, and I've got it set up with 60 on threshold, and it takes away all the bad sounds that I'm producing when I play bass, which is nice. This is moving into an EQ block, and this is basically just doing one thing, and that is cutting off at the very bottom there. So it's just set up for 31.5, yeah. And finally, I've got the original speaker type on Main Speaker Simulator, and the microphone type here is flat actually, which is an option. Mic distance short, position 3 centimeters. Yeah, and that's the bass patch. And those are all the patches.